Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this news brief with Jason Anthony for Monday, October 14th, 2019. This is your host, Jason Anthony, and we have today's stories. And we're going to start off. Sorry about that. If you're a New Jersey Transit Rail Operations rider on the Raritan Valley Line and wants one seat ride to Manhattan, great news! You're gonna have that one seat ride starting in November. And for that, we're going to uh, play the clip. Was the report from Brenda Flanagan from NJTV News that reported about this afternoon. Let's play the clip.
Rail riders on the Raritan Valley Line cheered the news.
Oh, I'm so happy. It's going to change my life.
Riders like Aisha Ronsky have waited more than a year for NJ Transit to restore off-peak one-seat train rides direct into New York's Penn Station. It'll mean no more stopping to change trains in Newark, a more than half-hour-long scramble, even on good days.
It just makes me feel much more comfortable getting on one train at New York Penn Station and arriving in Westfield without having to change. Makes a big difference.
I have to switch in Newark, the platform. It's a big problem for me because the stroller, because of him, so
the fact that they're bringing that train back
UP is the best one, of course.
The Raritan Valley Line starts in Highbridge and serves 23,000 riders daily. NJ Transit had suspended one-seat service last September so it could install positive train control. Starting November 4th, all 5 midday trains and 3 out of 4 evening trains will again offer direct trips to New York, the governor said at a news conference in Westfield.
Today's announcement is a long time coming. Too long, frankly, and I fully understand the inconvenience that commuters have faced since these rides were suspended last September. Starting here and today, we're taking a major step to getting things right.
Getting things right includes graduating 6 more locomotive engineers this week, the second of 6 new classes. NJ Transit's still struggling with a deficit that saw 13 trains canceled by 10 a.m. this morning due to holiday staff call-outs. That won't improve for months.
For us to get to a place where we feel comfortable that we can cover all of these call-outs on all of the lines and live within our union obligations, I think that you're seeing spring of next year is really the target.
But for a bipartisan coalition of Raritan Valley Line mayors, getting things right would mean parity with other major NJ Transit rail lines that also enjoy direct rides during peak rush hours, not just off-peak. Advocates point to a booming population with 10,000 more residential units planned along the route that demands faster, more reliable commuter service.
Each of us have met families who are considering moving to another town with direct train service. As mayors, we are seriously concerned about the economic impact to our home values and the ability to attract businesses.
Our line is the 3rd most populated of any of the commuter lines, and we have 0. All of those other lines have one-seat ride during the peak. So it's a matter of fairness.
But NJ Transit faces obstacles it can't control. All the peak hour slots into New York Penn Station are full, occupied by other rail lines. Until new Hudson River tunnels create room for more trains, the agency will try to make Newark train transfers faster and easier by keeping them on the same platform, although they could take away a peak hour train slot from another line and give it to Raritan Valley.
I know it's a bottleneck. There's only X number of trains that can come through, but it'd be nice if that line got a little something as opposed to nothing.
A little consideration?
Oh, absolutely.
There's a lot of complicated chess pieces on the board, and that's the most obvious one.
So what's the chance politicians will ask riders on another line to surrender one of their peak hour one-seat rides? They're not making any commitments. In Westfield, I'm Brenda Flanagan, NJTV News.
Okay, that was Brenda Flanagan from NJTV News. And we have some issues here that came out on our Twitter page. That is the 12:17 a.m. train from Penn Station to Port Washington at 1:04 a.m. will terminate at Great Neck today due to overnight repair that is being made to a track defect near Manhasset. Buses will accommodate customers between Great Neck and Port Washington. Let's go to other news. And for that, we are going to do something outside the box. And let's go to our fellow contributors channel, Matt Kamper, for
That should be it.
For his report of the article that was published this afternoon on the New York Post and his opinion regarding fare hikes and service cuts that basically, and this is my personal opinion, I totally agree 100% with my colleague. We don't need no more fare hikes and no more 2010 massacre, not even in steroids. Let's listen what Matt Kamper had to say earlier this afternoon.
Written by David Mayer, a very interesting article about the growing MTA debt that may need fare hikes, more fare hikes, and service cuts, which is not a good situation. And again, I'm going to say this right now, and I've said it time and time again, and I'll say it again. We, the riders, if we're going to have issues on the Long Island Railroad constantly, and we are paying more money, it is outrageous that we have to. Remember, we just had a fare hike that just went in effect early this year, and we have to pay more money. And you know what's going on? Of course you know what's going on. The issues continue on the Long Island Railroad, and it's always a problem, especially on the main line. And we pay more money. People pay $300, $400 a month for a service that they cannot rely on. And it's like, and again, I'm sorry you're hearing, the honks and everything in the background. Again, just all I'll say is on that front, that is the signal of an Islanders win. So you hear the do. That is the Islanders signal of an Islanders win. Because I'm just literally coming back right now from the Coliseum. But I'm not going to get into the game on this video. But anyway, as I said, again, this is outrageous that people keep on having to pay more money for terrible service and all of that. And it's ridiculous that the MTA board cannot think outside the box as to how to handle the situation better. There are other ways to handle the situation better than making people pay more money for bad service. And no service cuts either, by the way. I'm sorry. That should be a last resort. Fare hikes should be a last resort. Only if you have no other option. There are other ways to handle the situation better. Not cutting workers, that's a last resort option. Fare hikes, last resort option. And service cuts, last resort option. There are other ways to handle the situation. I've said it before, and I will keep on saying it if I have to until people understand that this is not acceptable. That we pay for service more money, and we don't get the service that we deserve on the Long Island Railroad as a whole. It is ridiculous and outrageous, and we're going to fight to make sure the MTA board understands that and thinks outside the box, and especially to you, Path Boy. If you think you're going to make us pay more, we are going to fight to make sure you don't allow, and so that way you have to be told, no, you're not allowed to do this, otherwise we're going to drive into the city and cause more pollution in the air, which is causing climate change, which again, climate change, we have had a lot more issues with weather, like never before. And John from my fellow explains that very well. or because people are using their cars more and it causes more pollution in the air. We need to fight the climate change, and one way, again, is an example of this. No service cuts, last resort, no fare hikes, because it's a last resort option, because if you, at a certain point, people are going to say it is too much money just to drive in this, to take the train into New York City, from Long Island specifically, I'm talking about here, folks. And people are going to be like, it'll take less time with the issues on the Long Island Railroad to just drive it. Is that what we want? No, that's not what we want. So the MTA board, you have a decision to make. Either you are representing us, the riders, by not, and I mean not, putting fare hikes in and thinking outside the box as to what would be best for the riders when it comes to these issues with money. Think outside the box and not just the old days of making us pay more. Or are you not representing us riders? You don't care about us and you just want us to suffer and continue to deal because you don't only care about your own kind. That's a decision that the MTA board seriously has to think about. If they're not going to do that, they might as well get out. And as I've said before, people on the MTA board should be people who use the system on a daily basis. Whether you're on New York City Transit, the Long Island Railroad, Metro North, bridges and tunnels. But there are things you could do as an MTA board to say, crumbling train system will saddle it with $38 billion in debt on top of $44 billion it already owes, according to Moody's credit agency. By 2026, the MTA's debt will be over 4 times its annual revenue, creating a potential disastrous scenario for an agency already answering massive deficits with service cuts and fare hikes. To avoid financial calamity, MTA could turn to additional fare increases or service cuts that would exacerbate negative ridership trends, and its financial position could decline further. Moody said it in its October 3rd rating demonstration, which deemed MTA bonds a sound short-term investment. Which, by the way, if you want to read that entire thing, it is in the description below when it comes to the thing from Moody's. It's a very interesting thing, so you want to take a look at that. Again, I'm not going to go through it right now with you all, but if you want to read it, it is, of course, in the description below if you want to take a look at that, of course, for yourselves. But without money to fund its next capital plan, the MTA won't be able to install elevators, replace old trains and buses, modernize its signal system, or rehab stations. That makes new borrowing worth it because if the capital plan, if funds works as intended, ridership should increase, and with it, revenue, according to Moody's October 9 follow-up analysis, which also I'll have in the description below if you want to read that for yourself, as well with the follow-up from Moody's. Again, that's from October 9th. So you can read that. Again, that's in the description below. I'm not going to go through it with you all right now because, again, that would be time-consuming and everything. The debt load would be partially balanced by system investments that would foster economic expansion and ridership growth, as well as generate new asset value for the MTA, the analyst said. The increase in debt is not an immediate red flag, but rather a warning sign that you have to make sure you have the revenue to cover it. Citizens Budget Commission President Andrew Wynn told the Post. Given that we have these capital needs, you don't want to stop what you have to do, he said. The sooner these capital investments pay off, the sooner the MTA will see new revenue. Otherwise, the debt could fall squarely, I apologize, can't pronounce the word, on riders in the form of either the fare hikes or service cuts. One top-ranking state rep warned. Every penny that they borrow has to be paid back. Those are those are monies that come out of the operating fund. And they're already at the edge there. Assemblywoman Amy Poland, a Democrat of Westchester County, said, who chairs the Public Authorities Commission, told the Post. It looks like there's going to be more pain before we gain, she said. In a statement, the MTA pointed to revenue approved by the state legislature earlier this year, which Moody's accounted for, as well anticipate cash contribution from the state, city, and federal governments, which the agency hopes will add up to $16.7 billion. Backed by those monies, the capital plan will bring the system into the 21st century and provide a level of service our 8 million daily riders demand and deserve, agency spokeswoman Abby Collins said. Sorry about that. So, again, it's an article from the New York Post, written by David Mayer, posted earlier this afternoon, talking basically about this analyst called Moody's. It's a website. Again, there was a analyst and also a follow-up to this early this month. Both of those are in the description below if you want to read it for yourselves. Again, due to time constraints, I'm not going to read it for you all in this video, but if you want to read it, again, it is available in the description below if you want to read it for yourselves, because I think it is important you all read it so you can see what this is about. And basically, again, it's basically about the MTA's debt could lead to.
And thank you for Matt Kamper for that report. And other news, the CTA makes history again, unveiling their series of Ride the Rails. We started watching earlier tonight the real-time journey on the Purple Line on the CTA. And of course, we're gonna post their channel on the description below. It's pretty interesting that they do this. They have done it. They did it 4 years ago, and they did it again in 2019. So New York City Transit, Long Island Railroad, Metro North, and of course New Jersey Transit Rail Operations Inc. could do this. And instead of having, the traditional rail fanners navigating the system, they could do an in-house video. Even they have a playset. See, you have here the red line from 95th Ryan, Dan Ryan, the red line to Howard, the blue line to O'Hare. Every single line on the CTA done in real time. So in the description below, you're gonna have that the whole channel of the CTA, and you could enjoy navigating through the whole CTA system. Well, let's go to Puerto Rico. And we had a massacre tonight in the Ernesto Ramos Antonini housing in San Juan, where 5 people got killed and other people got injured. So personnel of the Altaray East and Montaltillo precincts, in union with the Criminal Investigation Board of San Juan, investigated a shooting in the building number 29 in the Ernesto Ramos Antonini housing in Rio Piedras, which took life of 4 men and 1 woman. This happened around 6:50. The officers responded to a call to the emergency system 911 around 6:50 in the afternoon tonight. And when they arrived to the scene, they found the bodies of the victims. And the victims are one A. La Luz Pizarro, of 50 years old, died at the scene after receiving multiple gunshots. Meanwhile, Carlos D. Perez Rosado, of 51 years old, was transported to the medical center in Rio Piedras, where after he passed away. And the police is asking for the help of the public if someone knows how to clarify this scene and others. You could call the Crime Stoppers at 787-343-2020. Meanwhile, the governor Wanda Vasquez cited a meeting tomorrow, Tuesday, to the emergency components to evaluate contingency plans. Meanwhile, this past weekend, the radio in Puerto Rico lost one of its brilliant voice. And we're talking about Fernando Perez Gonzalez, who passed away Saturday night after having a massive stroke in Houston, Texas, where he relocated after losing everything after Hurricane Maria 2 years ago. And on my Echo Show, every morning, Monday to Friday, I hear WKQ5A. And there was a point that I got used to hearing Fernando Perez Gonzalez with his positivism, you name it. Meanwhile, let's look at Twitter. And remember, you could add me to my social media networks on Twitter at JasonBX0619, on Facebook, facebook.com/JasonBX0619. And one of the people that I appreciate a lot, Nina Rosario, lost her dog. If you have seen that dog, in the area of Kearney, New Jersey, please contact Linda Rosario directly and her social media networks on Twitter, Facebook, or calling directly to Telemundo. That's the picture of the dog. So if you have seen that dog in the area of Kearney, New Jersey, please contact Linda Rosario. She is desperate to be with her dog again. And as a dog lover myself, I know the feeling of not having your pet. Meanwhile, tonight we're gonna go down to the low 50s. Meanwhile, the situation with Donald Trump gets even bitter, bitter, and bitter. And of course, the Democrats will have their fourth debate tomorrow night in Ohio. That's hosted by CNN and the New York Post, the New York Times. But we're not going to look at this. Brenda Flanagan from AJTV News posted 3 hours ago, sold 24 canceled trains, 13 this morning, 11 this evening, mostly for engineer calling out. And while NJT will restore direct service to New York Penn on the Raritan Valley line. But in the report that she did, she mentioned other commuter lines. Does she mean that the Long Island Railroad has to give up their space for NJT? No, thank you. Meanwhile, it's 11:38 in the evening, today Monday, October 14th. And if you are using the New York City subway at this time or during the late nights, there's a couple of planned service changes that you need to be aware of. And one of them, between 11:45 tonight to 5 a.m. tomorrow morning, there is no 7 train between 34th Street Hudson Yards and Queensboro Plaza. This is to signal maintenance along the 42nd Street corridor and the Steinway Tunnel. 7 trains will run only in Queens between Flushing Main Street and Queensboro Plaza. 3 shuttle buses will be running in 2 routes. The first in Queens between Queensboro Plaza and Vernon Boulevard, Jackson Avenue, and in Manhattan between Times Square, 42nd Street, and 34th Street, Hudson Yards. The 42nd Street shuttle will run overnight. For a service between Manhattan and Brooklyn, take the E or F by a transfer at 74th Street Broadway, Jackson Heights, Roosevelt Avenue, or the N at Queensboro Plaza. In Manhattan, take the E or N on the 42nd Street shuttle. Transfer between trains and shuttle buses at Times Square 42nd Street or 42nd Street Port Authority Bus Terminal. If you are a A-train rider, there's information that you might need information about. From 10:30 tonight to 5 a.m. tomorrow morning, Monday to Friday, A trains are not running between Euclid Avenue and Lefferts Boulevard. This is to do track replacement along the Liberty Avenue branch. A trains will run in 2 sections. The first between 207th Street and Euclid Avenue, and the second between Walkway Boulevard, 96th Street, and Mont Avenue. Free shuttle buses will run between Euclid Avenue and Lefferts Boulevard, make, making stops at Grant Avenue, 80th Street, 88th Street, Walkway Boulevard, 96th Street, 104th Street, and 111th Street. Transfer between trains and free shuttle buses at Euclid Avenue and or Walkway Boulevard, 96th Street. If you're a F train rider, there's information that you need to be aware of. Between Tuesday and Friday, between midnight and 5 a.m., F trains will run local in Queens between Jackson Heights Roosevelt Avenue and Forest Hill 71st Avenue. Please allow extra travel time. And in addition, between 11:45 a.m. tonight and 5 a.m. tomorrow, Monday to Friday, Jamaica bound F trains are running on the A between J Street Metrotech and West 4th Street. This is due to track maintenance on the Rockler Street too. For York Street, use the nearby High Street on the A instead. For Delancey, Essex, take the J by a transfer at Fulton Street. For East Broadway or 2nd Avenue, take the F train to West 4th Street and transfer to a Coney Island-bound F train. For service to from these stations, take the F train to J Street Metrotech and transfer to a Jamaica-bound F train. For Broadway, Lafayette Street, Bleecker Street, take the D or a Coney Island-bound F train by a transfer at West 4th Street. If you are a Long Island Railroad commuter, the service change that you need to be aware of. Due to track defect near Manhasset that will occur during the overnight hours, the following trains will terminate or originate at Gray Neck. For eastbound service, the 12:17 a.m. train from Penn to Port Washington at 104 will terminate at Gray Neck, and also the 1:15 a.m. train from Penn to Port Washington at 2:01 a.m. will terminate at Gray Neck. For westbound service, the 2:10 a.m. train for Port Washington due to Penn Station at 2:55 will originate at Gray Neck, and the 3:23 a.m. train for Port Washington due to Penn Station at 4:09 will originate at Gray Neck. And remember, if you are an Amtrak rider, Amtrak is extended to 96th Street on the Q line between 10 p.m. and 1:30 a.m. every day until summer 2020. Amtrak will run its normal route between Mill Village and 4750th Street Rockefeller Center, then via the F line to and from Lexington Avenue 63rd Street, and then via the Q to and from 96th Street. An overnight service between 1:30 a.m. and 6 a.m. will run as usual. And that being said, service on to Queens will end early due to signal modernization along the Queens Boulevard line. And remember, L trains will run every 20 minutes between Manhattan and Brooklyn, and at 3rd Avenue and 1st Avenue between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. and all day on the weekends. 3rd Avenue and 1st Avenue will board and exit on the 8th Avenue platform. And remember, for Matt Kamper story and for the CTA's YouTube channel, we have it on the description below. So that's all for now. Thank you for joining us on this Monday night. Remember to follow me on my social media networks at Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, you name it. So thank you for joining us and have a good night.